My first one here this morning is more Davy Fitz. Davy Fitz is kind of the lead. You'll see a pattern evolving here. Fitzgerald draws no comfort as Wexford recover against Galway, and that's him being sent to the stands. And then curtain falling on O'Brien's international career. There's a general consensus that he won't play for London Irish and for Ireland at the same time.
The Irish Examiner goes with Davy as well. It's a great picture here on the front of their sports supplement. Anger Management reads the headline, Seething Davy fires biased broadside after Salt Hill dismissal. Primrose Power then is our headline on the football. Joy for Roscommon, what now for Mayo? And Shkodran Mustafi has been in the media ahead of the Europa League final.
Yeah, I think, is that tab of the morning? Anger Management?
Anger Management. Well, it's a decent bar. It's a good start. Let's see where we go from here.
Injury rules O'Brien out of World Cup. This is the story in the Times Ireland edition.
There's a fantastic tab of the morning coming to you, is basically what I'm saying.
Funding worry after Minister slams Mooney. So the FAI and the government are at loggerheads again after Shane Ross, the Minister for Sport, slammed a move to draft in former employee Noel Mooney to run the embattled organisation. Shane Ross took to his old stomping ground, the Sunday Independent, yesterday, to write about Mooney. Mooney of the old regime was appointed an FAI loyalist to his fingertips. He may have many talents, but he's one of the last people on God's earth suitable for this job. There is no going back for the FAI. Going to Noel Mooney is going back to the dark ages. We objected in no uncertain terms in a tense, face-to-face meeting with the FAI.
Oh.
Are you supposed to tell everybody about all your meetings with the Minister? Because if you are, let's wait and see how this whole thing plays out. Because, you know, Shane Ross on News Talk months ago, would have been around last October, November, said that all was well with the FAI. That the grassroots, as far as he was concerned, thought the FAI were doing a great job. He's changed his tune, hasn't he?
The shocking developments have rumbled the Department of Sport as much as they've rumbled us, clearly. And at least I'm glad that he didn't just launch the broadside in the media, and he actually went face to face and made his distaste known to them as well.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible to sling from the ditches. The back page of the Irish Independent this morning is, I'm going to fight for every single thing I honestly believe in. That's a quote from Davy Fitzgerald squaring up with the official yesterday. He's proud of Wexford's comeback to earn a point in Galway, and Schmidt's options narrow as O'Brien World Cup dreams end, and struggling Lilley's lucky to live to fight another day. Your boys really hate Tullamore.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
No, this weekend last year they were licking their wounds after that Carlow defeat. At least this year.
Is the replay in Tullamore?
Good question. I don't know.
Hermosa completes Guineas double in style for Maestro of Ballydoyle. This is Hermosa winning the 1,000 guineas at the Curragh on Sunday. The 2,000 guineas on Saturday was won by an outsider, tipped by John Duggan on Friday Night Racing. O'Brien blow, hip injury rules top flanker out of World Cup. Joe Schmidt has suffered a World Cup injury blow with veteran flanker Sean O'Brien ruled out of the tournament in Japan with a hip injury. So a bit of a disaster. He obviously has already signed his deal to go to London Irish. Not great for them either. Davy Fitz stands his ground, and City vowed to prove their racist critics wrong. Manchester City chief Khaldoon Al-Mubarak has vowed the club will win their war with UEFA and launched a searing attack on City's critics, saying that racism is at the centre of what's going on.
The Herald goes with this. Door open for Dermo. Gavin expects one or two fellas to join Dublin panel. Could Diarmuid Connolly be in that one or two? Could it be you, Diarmuid? Could he be the lucky man selected from the clubs over these next couple of days? Of course, Jim Gavin didn't mention Diarmuid Connolly by name, but was asked if anybody would come into the Dublin panel over the next couple of weeks. He says he's going to have a look at one or two club players.
Right.
Diarmuid Connolly is a club player.
That's true.
So Diarmuid Connolly is in the frame.
Yeah. I mean, do they need him now? You know, Cormac Costello looks like he's stepping up.
No, Cormac Costello hit the post with that free, and so he's finished.
I've never
seen a person so sickened after scoring a point, because the only free he missed hit the post, but he caught the rebound and put it over the bar. It's kind of like,
still goes down as a miss.
Kind of like a 7-footer catching his own free throw. Still goes down as a miss. It's true, but just as the juxtaposition was kind of terrifying, really, as Mayo fell apart at the seams because Cillian O'Connor wasn't there to tap the ball over the bar. Dean Rock was missing, and Cormac Costello scores 112.
Front page of the Star, which I'm just going to do this one. Ravy Fitz.
There you go. Top of the morning to you.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
You're not going to beat that this morning.
No, in fairness. But they wasted it on the front page, really. It should have been on the back page, because the back is reffing mad.
I think it's on the front of their championship supplement as well.
Is it?
inside,
Okay,
yeah.
they used it twice then, okay.
I think so, I'm not sure.
In fairness, I'll try and dig out the championship supplement.
No.
Draw and order.
Oh, that's good.
There you go.
We'll come back to that in a moment.
Yeah, okay. So top marks to the star subs yesterday. Neil looking for 9. Neil Lennon last night insisted winning 9 in a row next season will matter more to Celtic than making the Champions League. Just lowering expectations a little bit and making sure that, it's actually not that important. There's this other historic 9 in a row thing that we need to do. And then Ross in blast at FAI Chief Mooney. So whatever hope that the FAI had that things were going to calm down a little bit when Noel Mooney took the reins, it's not going to happen. Basically, there's a full war underway between Shane Ross and the FAI at the minute, and sports bodies tend not to win wars against governments unless, of course, maybe there's a reshuffle and Ross gets booted out of there. Who knows?
The Racing Post goes with Hermosa on the front page. Hermosa strikes again, winning the 1,000 guineas double at the Curry yesterday. And then the back page of the Racing Post is from despair to nearly there. It's Jack Grealish. Picture there is Villa ready to end Wembley heartbreak. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff this afternoon between Villa and Derby in the richest game in football.
Yeah.
Confident?
No, not really. You can't be confident ahead of these. They're crazy. I'll tell you how good my sporting... I missed most of the sport this weekend because I was away for everything. But I did.
You're saving yourself for this afternoon.
I did come in with 90 and a half minutes on the clock in the Division 1 playoff final. And I watched a minute and a half and there was a chance and the ball got cleared and I went, this is definitely going to extra time, and turned it off.
Oh, no. That was an incredible finish.
But I watched it and went, I'm just going to watch the last minute of this now. I had to go and do something. I was just going to sit here and watch the last minute of it. And something weird is always going to happen in these games. And the ball got hack cleared. It's like, no, that's it now. That's the last chance.
Given everything that's happened in football over the past 3 weeks, you can be sure and certain that this afternoon's championship final is going to be a disappointment. It just has to be. Because it is the only game that guarantees excitement every single year. The only way it could skew things further is by it being a drab affair. Yeah,
there'll be a 4-3. It'll be a 4-3, and somebody will come back from 3-0 down. That's my prediction.
If that actually happens, you'll be more mystic than Mystic Kieran Donaghy, who's on a roll of predictions at the moment. I'm going to move on to The Guardian. It's a picture of Lewis Hamilton and his quote from yesterday saying, Nicky was with me racing today. Britain pays tribute to mentor after Monaco triumph. And injury blow for Chelsea. N'Golo Kante is going to miss the final in Baku this Wednesday night.
Rod Stewart was paying tribute to Liam Miller in his gig last night. There's a picture of him there. Put him up on his... Put him up on the big screen. Rod's Corker tribute to tragic soccer star Miller. So Rod Stewart obviously playing at Porky Cleeve at the weekend. And then finally from me for now, I think anywhere I missed the Sun story as well. Smith agony. Dementia means my dad doesn't even know I'm Villa boss. Dean Smith's dad has dementia. Furious Fitz dismissed. Injury rules O'Brien at a World Cup. No go N'Golo. Blues rocked as Keyman faces Baku KO. So he's not going because he's injured as opposed to any other issues around that. And there you go. Toon 350 million shake-up. Ashley deal with City owner's cousin. And the £180 million game is the one tonight. Aston Villa versus Derby, 3 o'clock rather. It stands in fight for Fitz.
You did well to get that out in one go.
Why?
It's a tongue twister, isn't it?
Stands and fight for Fitz.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Jealousy, hypocrisy and racism. So, I don't know. The Sun subs, not at the races compared to the Star subs today.
Well, it's 1-0 to them this week. And we're going to move on to some of the online stuff we saw this week. And as they led with in the Star Championship supplement this morning, the story of Garda Darren Gallagher, who was on duty yesterday. He scored 222 during the league, but hasn't been allowed to play for Longford this summer. Here's a couple of images of him at O'Connor Park yesterday, directing traffic some 400 metres away from Longford versus Kildare. Of course, should be playing for Longford, but is going to America. And because you move to the States, you're not allowed to play championship anymore. It's a rule they brought in a few years ago, or recently enough anyway.
Or if you play championship, you're not allowed to go to the States.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to, on one side of the fence you have people saying it's a disgrace, people should be allowed to play for their county regardless and they should be allowed to move to the States at will. And then other people are like, well, actually, if they're allowed to do that, then what's to stop them actually leaving later in the summer or leaving mid-championship?
Do you think anybody thought that people would stop playing for their counties rather than go to the States?
No.
Do you think that this is like the complete opposite of what everybody thought would happen?
Yes.
And do you think it makes a complete mockery of the rule?
Yes.
And so shouldn't some accommodation be made somewhere? Doesn't this just point to the bullshit that is the championship?
Well, exactly.
Like,
you've got to. This is definitely the most ridiculous sort of image we've got of how the championship is screwed up. That there's actually a guard on duty.
this would have been their most
half
famous.
a kilometre away.
This would have been their most famous victory. Like, really? I mean, they beat Mayo, did they?
Longford. Well, they beat Mayo in 2009, knocking them out of the championship. They beat Monaghan in 2016, which was a huge win in the back door. They beat Meath last year in Leinster. Longford have got their fair share of scalps. We had Brian Kavanagh in on the Saturday panel on Saturday, actually, and he was talking about that Mayo game in 2009 and the glorification of the Longford players that day, and kind of chatting about the two-tier championship. He was like, that is their moment, that backdoor scalp, rather than the idea of actually going on to win a second-tier trophy. There might be something to put to Kieran Donaghy this week in the shot clock, but clearly these one-off games are huge things for the Longford players, and Garda Darren Gallagher was missing that. We want to move to politics. A couple of stories that caught our attention. The first one from a polling card in the West. Spoiled vote. Mayo for Sam. Congratulations to Robert Michael Foley, who got the fourth preference. And, of course, Owen Nail and Fianna Fáil, who got the second preference. And, actually, Michael O'Sullivan, who got the number one preference.
I mean, if I'm Michael O'Sullivan, I'm sitting there, hang on a second, that says one. Everybody knows you put one in. It's just the rest of them are a joke. I'm taking the number one. Yeah,
I think there's a closet Labour fan who just had a creative way of doing it. So that's one of the better spoiled votes we saw. The big sports story, really, I think, there was a couple of sports stories from the election, but this is certainly the one that caught most of our eyes. We all knew Paddy Holohan, the MMA fighter, was running for election. Here are the scenes at the RDS yesterday.
Giving a total of 440. As the votes of Patrick Pearse Holohan exceed the quota, I deem him to be elected. Surplus of 75 votes, as it is the only surplus available that fulfills the following condition: in exceeding the difference between the two lowest candidates and candidate the continuing candidate. Thank you very much.
That's Ian Begley of INM, who posted that video on Twitter yesterday, capturing those scenes. You can get the actual result as well. That was posted by South Dublin County Council. Holohan getting 1,048 votes after the seventh count for Tallaght South. Doing pretty well there. Like you never quite know how someone like Paddy Holohan's going to get on, so it'll be interesting to see how he progressed in his political career. A couple of other stories as well. There was Kenneth Egan got re-elected, and down in Kerry, Niall Botty O'Callaghan got elected.
Tell us about Botty. Was he one of your teachers?
He coaches in basketball in school.
Coaches in basketball, yeah.
Yeah, heavily involved with Dr. Crokes, always involved as on the sideline with Kerry as well. Don't think he's involved this year under the new management, but certainly under Eoin Fitzmaurice he was. He was in absentia for the campaign, so he launched a digital-only campaign and managed to get himself re-elected. So a couple of big sporting figures around the country. I'm sure there's many more when it comes to administrators and stuff.
Did he get elected on holidays?
Basically, I think.
That's not bad, is it? I mean, also, that's terrible.
I saw him do his version of a swing video last week as well, instructing politicians how to not fall off a swing, which has become a meme at this stage.
Yeah.
Really. One of the images from the weekend really was seeing Rory O'Carroll back in a Dublin jersey. Just the sight of him out there, the sight of him playing football again. He got a huge roar when he came on by all the Dublin fans. But for me, this was the image of the evening. Rory O'Carroll with Mick McDonagh after the game. Mick McDonagh always manages to find himself in the big GA positions. And it's never a bad idea to go through a Mick McDonagh gallery.
Okay, cool.
Let's just do it. Here he is watching Colm O'Rourke, media advisor to Colm O'Rourke, Conor McKeown. They're actually grilling Colm O'Rourke a few years ago. Here he is on the sideline pointing the Offaly hurlers to goal. He's celebrating a win here in 2017. I love that celebration, but this one is probably my favourite celebration. This is after Offaly beat Laois in the league in April 2017. And then a few years ago, he did an interview with the GA about how he was saving up for a trip to New York, and lo and behold, there he is this year at Gaelic Park as Mayo hammered New York. So Mick McDonagh, he's had a good season this year. He's getting himself front and centre quite a bit. The other thing that kind of caught my eye from the GA this weekend was Shane Stapleton, who posted about his cousin and Father Vinnie Stapleton. He substituted himself midway through the second half of a league game against Sarsfields to go say Mass. Bless us with a couple of lovely points. No, this is not a joke. Let's see how they got on in the end. Unfortunately, it was a defeat for Borrisoleigh. They lost 213 to 16 points. Not sure how much of a contribution Mass had in said defeat, but we might get to the bottom of that some other time. In the rugby then, Tyke Furlong's done this a bit, where he introduces us all to his teammates on Instagram. After the game against Glasgow Warriors on Saturday, it was time for us to meet the backs. So we'll go through these. We'll start with Owen Redden at scrum half. Not Owen Redden, Jesus, Luke McGrath at scrum half. I feel like I'm living in 2009. AKA the Ferret, DS Arnott, same haircut since age 10. His dad puts Tabasco sauce on the skirting boards to stop the dogs chewing them, unorthodox. At out half then we've got Johnny Sexton, AKA Birdneck. Enough neck for 10 heads. Cantankerous at the best of times. Spends his spare time on FaceTime to his kids. You'll see him leveraging his kids on Instagram. Family man. His company accounts make interesting reading. At 11 we have James Lowe, AKA Caveman / Loudy. He'd peel an orange in his pocket. Owns a toy shop back in New Zealand. My neighbour in the dressing room, unfortunately, has adjusted to Dublin life by taking residence in Avoca. Then we go through the midfield, I think, yeah. Robbie Henshaw, a.k.a. Squeezebox Bob, Athlone native, has an album on Spotify. Traditional music specialist. Is this album on Spotify? We must actually check that out.
I'd say it is, yeah.
At outside centre, we've got Gary Ringrose with a knife emoji, a.k.a. Ringer's Runny Honey. Beekeeper like his father before him. The next spot on the pitch doesn't capitalise off the pitch as much. Niall Woods, get your finger out. Weirdly obsessed with Jonathan Davis.
Niall Woods is his agent.
And on the other wing, we've got Jordan Larmour, a.k.a. Phonebox / Bungalow, son of Ian and Anne. Nickname stems from his quick feet. Second one, self-explanatory. 25 points, leaving cert 2015. Runs like he is mad at the grass. Hyperactive kind of fella. Never changed, lad. And then finally, 15, Rob Kearney, yellow or red. What could that possibly mean?
I don't know.
Is that
what colours?
Yeah.
Fairmont or Toulon?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Is there any Japanese clubs that wear yellow or red?
I mean,
whenever Tyke Furlong does those pieces, they must be well thought out beforehand. He must have a notepad written of all his players, and then he's like, if we win a trophy, I'll put these out. Otherwise, it might be seen as inappropriate. The only other thing I wanted to get into today was kind of the end of the football season. Of course, there's plenty scope for madness to happen tonight or this afternoon in the Championship, but the conclusion to Serie A was absolutely crazy, because you had Atalanta, you had Inter Milan, and you had AC Milan all going for the Champions League places. This is a mad graphic that was made on that I found on Reddit this morning that shows the change in position all throughout the 90 minutes of the final season yesterday. So you had AC Milan, who'd gone 1-0 up early. They'd gone into third position. At one point in the 19th minute, Atalanta had gone down to fifth position out of the Champions League. Fortunately, from their perspective, they managed to turn it around and get a 3-1 win, and they managed to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in their 111-year history, the 14th highest wage bill in Serie A. Great story for them. Finished off with Inter Milan leapfrogging their city rivals to grab the other qualifying place for the Champions League. AC Milan missed out on the Champions League. A crazy final day. All the scores were up and down, and some brilliant stuff there. A couple of sendings off as well.
Here's Robbie Henshaw's thing on Spotify. There's a screenshot of it. There it is. The Secret Sessions, the Henshaw family and friends with special guest Sharon Shannon. We made a documentary about this, actually. It's up on our YouTube channel. If you search for Robbie Henshaw and Sharon Shannon, it should come up. The Manila reel, Monty's reel, the Green Graw reel, that's Sharon Shannon. That's obviously all her music, and then they're playing it.
Not so secret anymore, I dare say.
No, absolutely. Here you go. This game was woeful. It was worse than watching paint dry. It was Gerlach Nan in his column in the Star today, but yet he feels that it could be a very big point for Davies Wexford. And it will be, more than likely, despite the fact that Davy is obviously the focus of all of the attention, having been sent to the stand by referee Johnny Murphy yesterday. There were some other people giving out about the quality of fare on offer at the weekend. Apparently not everybody was enamoured by the Fermanagh Donegal game.
Yeah, that was, as expected, fairly turgid, I think is the correct term for that. Donegal managing to feel their way around this the setup that Fermanagh employed, and thankfully, football purists will say managed to win comfortably enough in the end. Like, I wonder, are we now at the point where if you're a team of any bit of quality, aka top 8, 9, 10 team, you have a way of beating this blanket defence fairly easily, as long as you keep your head and you have decent point scorers, because Donegal do have an exceptional forward line, but it did take them a little while to actually figure Fermanagh out. I've got an issue, like my issue with Fermanagh is starting to grow a little bit the more I see them, and the more I see the footballers that they have at their disposal. Like, some of the points Fermanagh kicked yesterday were absolutely wonderful. They were incredible scores on a couple of occasions, and you wonder if the system is actually getting the most out of them. Like, Oisin McConville was saying at halftime on the BBC yesterday that he didn't feel Rory Gallagher was getting the most out of Donegal when he was manager there, but he does feel that he's getting the most out of them as Fermanagh manager. I'm not so sure if that's the case. Like, I can see why they would set up in that manner, and I can see why they need to play like that against better teams, but I wonder... I don't wonder, I really, really do think it's just too ultra-defensive, that there is far more of a balance to be found in that Fermanagh team, because a lot of those footballers are getting inhibited.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because Fermanagh, obviously, fairly small county in terms of GAA, fairly small in terms of the tradition that they have. They haven't really had a long history of playing free-flowing football that everybody thinks, oh yeah, this is exactly how we should be playing, but I don't know. It's like... if they were to evolve over the next couple of seasons into a team that has an attacking philosophy as well as the defensive philosophy, then that's fine.
This is the perfect time to evolve, though, isn't it? Over the last 12 months, when they get to an Ulster final and then they get thumped in that Ulster final, is that not the time for them to, and they get knocked out by Kildare in the back door, is that not a time for them to sit and say, why aren't we actually winning this game against Kildare? Why aren't we giving a better account of ourselves in the Ulster final? Is that not the time for them to tweak? Now, they'll say they did tweak and they got even better at the back. They conceded less than everybody else in all 4 divisions in the Football League this year, and they will say that, and that's fair enough, and I buy your point, but ultimately, like, you look at the basics of the system.
But maybe it's not a 1-year thing. Maybe this is you build over 3, 4, 5 years, and like everybody who comes into the squad begins to understand exactly what they're supposed to be doing. That, like, they don't have the playing personnel to suddenly switch. I know people are going to talk about a change of mindset, and so everybody begins to look forward to, but like, you can't just do that. You know, you don't have... You've got all those training sessions, but mostly they're strength and conditioning and a bit of ball work. And maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe they need to do more ball work. I don't know. I feel like we want everybody in a sport that is amateur to flick a switch and suddenly be able to instigate massive change in playing philosophy, when actually what you need to do is space this out over a period of time.
But my point is that their ball work looks like it's pretty good. It looks like they're pretty handy. Like, their number 5 yesterday, Ultan Kelm, looks like one of the best young wing-backs that's arrived on the scene this year. It's my first time seeing him in full, because you don't get to see Fermanagh in the league. He looks absolutely exceptional. He is a potential star for them. Like, as I said, like, Ryan Jones midfield, fantastic player, kicked a beautiful score in the first half yesterday. Their point kicking was brilliant. I think their ball playing is good. Like, on the basics of their system, if you can't transition quickly, then you're screwed, really. And they weren't even transitioning quickly, at least that Donegal team, even when they were at their turgid worst, before they managed to make the breakthrough to become All-Ireland champions, were at least getting up the pitch quickly. And Fermanagh weren't really doing that. It's almost as if, like, once they make the turnover, they're happy enough to just contain possession for a little while.
Yeah, Rory Gallagher was the, like, coach of that team. Like, I don't know. That Donegal team's cornerbacks would frequently be found inside the opposition's 21.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yellow or red was referring to whether or not Carney should have got a yellow or red card during the game.
Yes, good point. Good point.
Podge Muller says at least Mayo got to go to New York. Not the first or the last to make that one, Podge. I'm sure they had a good time, you know. When the story of the great Mayo team comes to be written, the trip to New York will have a whole chapter to itself. The last one.
Yeah, the true market is Mayo team is like the Mayo players went to a banquet 2 nights before the New York game and still managed to
win the game.
Hammer New York.
Somebody who calls himself Jeff Hendrick, a weird internet persona to cultivate, I have to say. But anyway, another bottle job from Mayo. I mean, give the Rozzies some credit. They were up for it, says James on Facebook. How much credit and how much bottle job?
Bit of both, for sure. Like
30, 50, 50.
It must be really frustrating that if your free taking was just a little bit better, you would have won that game. Like, that's...
Same for the Wexford Hurlers.
Yeah.